If you've been following on the show last week, you'll know that I put Justin Pearson's homily, his great sermon on display for everyone to see, where he talks about his black Jesus. Justin Pearson, of course, is one of the infamous couple, the Tennessee Three, one of the three people who were under investigation, I guess you might say, or at least just house disciplinary action when the legislative body in Tennessee decided to take these three lawmakers and hold them accountable for what they did by assisting, aiding, and abetting a violent and radical protest that took place in the Tennessee state capitol. Now, Justin Pearson is the cosplayer du jour among these three. Of course, all of them are trying to milk this for all of its worth for their own personal gain. Now, before I get into kind of what Justin Pearson just recently did in his latest homily, I just want to say something about the idea of fame and how ubiquitous it is in the present, because social media has, and things like American Idol, has convinced everybody that they deserve some place of prominence, and people are willing to create that fame any which way they can find it. Would you know who Justin Pearson was if he didn't just act incredibly shamefully and irresponsibly at the Tennessee state capitol, and then was propped up as a hero by the media? Would you even know who this person was? So I guess all I'm saying is this, is that there's an incentive structure for victimization, and there's an incentive structure to do ridiculous things in the present because it grants you unearned superiority of sorts. And here we have Justin Pearson making the rounds and becoming famous, and perhaps I'm even aiding and abetting in his unearned fame by talking about him, but I think it's important to take notice of these things. So I want to show you Justin Pearson giving us his latest sermon, and doing so in the most ridiculous way, where I think we can all tell that the act is getting a little old. So here is Justin Pearson, Reverend Pastor Justin Pearson, giving us his sermon.
Well, y'all, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. I'm so glad to be in the house of the Lord with you this morning. Would you mind going ahead and praying with me now? Mother God, Creator God, loving God, holy God, take this your servant made from dust and connect it with the raw materials of stardust to speak in this moment, to say something that brings forward the word you placed into my heart. I accept my unworthiness for such a task as bold as this, and I seek your guidance as you use me and speak through me. To the ancestor preachers who made sermons from hymns, moans, and groans, and spirituals from the bondage of slavery, speak now through this your descendant.
I mean, what do you make of the fact that this guy declares that Jesus is black, that God is his mother, and that we're all made of stardust, like whatever that even means, and doing this all within the context of religion? Well, I think this is what you have to say about this, is that what we're watching is not any form of Christianity that could be recognized by any self-respecting Christian. But what we're watching right in front of our face is actually the byproduct of postmodern religion, of postmodernism and postmodern Enlightenment religion. See, there was this idea in the Enlightenment that true enlightenment equals atheism. Is there anybody who actually believes that nonsense anymore? Hopefully by now we can see in front of our eyes that actually the eradication of authentic Christian religion in the present has created a religion in its place, but it's the religion of wokeism, and it's doing things like what you just saw, not to mention also mutilating small children in gender clinics. And for those of you who still resist basic facts, it's not hard for you to find that about 200 kids each year in America from 13 to 17 have double mastectomies, and that number is on the rise. Since 2022, we've been charting how many double mastectomies have been taking place in young girls' lives from 13 to 17. And like I said, started off around 200, then went around 230 and was in the 270s last year. And then this year, who knows, as this proliferation of this religion begins to spread. So the religion that's replaced Christianity very often in America and abroad, who have partaken in kind of the Enlightenment idea that enlightenment ultimately equals atheism, are neglecting a couple of obvious basic facts beyond just biology. And one of them is this, is that when you separate reason and faith, when you suggest, as the Enlightenment did, that science and faith can't actually cohabitate, they're antithetical to each other, when you create that idea, all you do is you separate reason and faith, and you don't eradicate religion, but you create this kind of buffoonish religion that you just saw in front of your face. You create a religion that is unmoored from any rational thought. And that's exactly what we just saw with Mother God. We're made from stardust. Like, what is he even talking about, except he's just pandering to a group of people because he's milking his fame for everything it's worth. So I think he's putting on a play. I think it's really clear whenever you see him, he's playing a part. He wants to be this civil rights leader in the present, as though civil rights issues in the present are anything what they were in the past, but he wants to channel 1960s civil rights leaders. So it's clear he's playing a part, but he's also not just playing a part, he's also revealing the repercussions of secular ideology when it pertains to religion, because you can't actually suppress the religious impulse inside of people. There's a Bible verse, and it says this, and Justin Pearson would do well to actually crack open his Bible, where he'd find that masculine pronouns and masculine identity is given to God because that is what God wishes to associate himself with. But he would also find this verse, that eternity is written in the hearts of men. And by the way, you don't have to say amen in a women, because women are included in that statement, men. So eternity is written in the hearts of all mankind, of every single human being. So we all crave eternity. We all crave meaning. We all crave permanence and desire to know that our lives that they matter. All of that. And so there is a religious impulse created and embedded inside of the heart of human man. And you can't suppress that. So as much as the atheist Enlightenment crowd has tried to prescribe scientific naturalism as an operating philosophy, even that has, in a sense, turned into a religion. So religion has not been eradicated. It has just created this new kind of pseudo-religion. And it's provided us this understanding that reason and faith are not compatible with each other, which of course just creates silly religion. But of course that's not true. That if you actually understand the Christian worldview, you understand that reason and faith actually cohabitate with one another. They're different sides of the same coin. And that even provides a distinction that I think is not even fair. They're hand in glove. They go one with the other. See, we believe in a God who is a historical being. There's data. There's an empty tomb. There's eyewitness accounts and testimony. And of course, I may not be able to convince you to believe all of it right here in this single moment, but please don't make the very foolish mistake that I see so very often in the comments section of suggesting that Christianity, or even religion writ large, is just mere superstitious mythology. That's not true, certainly, of the Christian worldview. There's lots and lots of things called books written about arguments for God from rational basis, and arguments written by scientists who show you how creation cries out to us to understand that you're not some random accident. See, the most illogical and ridiculous worldview is that of people like Richard Dawkins, who say the universe is exactly what you would expect it to be. A universe without a God, where there is no good, no evil, just pitiless indifference. But of course, when the postmodern Enlightenment-minded kind of woke activist wants to resist Christianity and say it's some stupid, foolish sheep herders religion, and then try to bring up science as a reason for why it cannot be true, they're making a category error there. So reason and faith are certainly compatible with each other, but so are faith and science. But also, let's be clear, faith and science aren't after the same thing. See, scientific naturalism, can't actually provide a meta-narrative for life. It can't actually provide you a basis for why you should believe that your life has meaning. It can tell you what you're made of. It cannot tell you why you exist. I say all this to say that when you artificially try to jam science on top of Christianity, what you're doing is making a category error of not understanding that the Bible isn't a science textbook and a science textbook isn't a Bible. The two have different purposes, but they are compatible with each other. And the ultimate reason that I bring that up is that because of the kind of religion that's being created in the present that we see in Justin Pearson, no wonder people are increasingly depressed and increasingly suicidal. They have no meta-narrative for their life. Scientific naturalism will either lead you to the kind of buffoonish religion where you have to separate all reason from it, or will totally separate you from religion altogether and make you think that it's totally worthless. But in the meantime, you don't have anything to actually provide meaning, a basis, a foundation for why your life matters and why it has intrinsic value. This is why Christianity is incredibly necessary in the present. And we need more and more Christians to take a stand against the kind of nonsense we hear from Justin Pearson and try to help people come to a greater sense, a greater understanding and appreciation for what Christian faith actually has in store for each and every one of us, what it actually says. I want to close with just this quick story. Neville Chamberlain was the famous coward who met with Hitler and then literally said, by the way he shook my hand and the way I talked with him, I knew that Hitler was a good man. And Neville Chamberlain at the time was the Prime Minister of England. And of course, he was removed and Winston Churchill took his place. And thank God, because Winston Churchill knew and could tell that Hitler was perhaps the greatest threat the world has ever known. And he wasn't wrong. And so he insisted that England prepare for war. Now, why did he have that kind of courage in the face of Neville Chamberlain's cowardliness? Here's why. Winston Churchill had a sense of divine destiny, and it changed his troubled world. And, more importantly, it can change ours. In order to do it, we're going to have a group of people who understand how important religion is and don't just merely throw it away at face value because you've been taught your whole life the unthinking and ridiculous notion that, one, that man doesn't need religion, or that true enlightenment means that you run away from it at all cost. Forgive us as Christians for not doing our work and trying to show you the insanity behind that claim, because the truth is that more and more we realize as the world shifts further and further away from Christianity, how the aches and pains of secularism are intolerable for us all. And I suggest to you that a return to Christian truth and real Bible study, not with Democrats, can actually lead you to meaning in this life and in the next. But you'll have to think about that for yourself. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and most importantly, go with God. So you just got done watching a small excerpt of a much larger episode. You can find the link to that full episode down below in the description of this video. So you definitely want to check that out, because if you like that clip, you'll like the much larger episode. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that little bell to be notified when great new episodes of Indie Thinker come your way. Thanks for watching.